Hi, Tim here for the Old Geezer Geek. What today's video is going to be about is starting your own machine shop and what it's going to take to get you up and running. What kind of things you should look at first, the considerations such as your budget, what you have to work with. Probably more importantly, what do you hope to accomplish with your shop? Is it going to be a hobby shop? Is it going to be prototyping? Or do you have some dreams of maybe starting your own business someday? And that'll dictate it. What you have for a budget is really important, what you got to work with. And once you determine budget usually is consideration, what are the things that I would need most? And I think the things that come to mind if you're in a machine shop would be you got to have a lathe, you got to have a mill, and you got to have a saw. Beyond that, everything else would be like grinders, air compressors, things of that nature. But the things you need absolutely would be the lathe, the mill, and the saw. The next thing in consideration would be where do I get these things? And I'm going to send some links down below to some of the places, but like littlemachineshop.com, they've got really good prices and a lot of availability and a lot of choices too. You can check out their website and that'll kind of give you a flavor of what's out there for mills and lathes and things like that. Also tooling, what kind of tooling do I want to get and where can I get that? Well, there's always eBay. You can get some of that stuff off there. There's a company named SARS.com. It's mostly China stuff, but you can get a lot of bang for the buck, especially when you're talking about getting inspection equipment like micrometers, digital calipers, and things of that nature. Now, when it comes to like buying tooling, drills and mills and things like that, again, it depends on the nature of the work you're going to do. If you're going to be just doing some 6061 aluminum or plastics and things like that, it's okay to buy a cheap set of mills and drills and stuff. But I wouldn't buy a real cheap set of drills. You'll always regret something like that. And that goes with the taps and dies as well. Make sure that they're high carbon content. You know, if you buy a cheap set of in-mill cutters or something for aluminum, that's fine, but I think you always regret not going with a higher quality on that. Another thing to consider is your power requirements. What kind of power do I have in the shop that I'm going to set up? You certainly wouldn't want to buy a three-phase 60 amp mill or a lathe and then not have the ability to power it. The only exception to that might be if you were planning on starting a business and you thought, well, I want to have a three-phase one. You could buy a power inverter, but those things are kind of costly too, so I'd really weigh that out and see if that's the direction I want to head. Another thing to consider is, will I want to be doing any kind of CNC work? And if I do I need a full-blown CNC? Because there's a learning curve with that. And you know, the tooling and the holders and things like that. Would a CNC router be enough to get you up and running? I know that's what I got, and I've run CNC lathes and mills before, and I know for the type of work that I'm doing and a little bit of hobby stuff, and I'm making electrical circuit boards, the PCB boards and stuff, the CNC router is just fine. Plus you can make signs for your shop, or I've made clocks and things like that, and it's a lot of fun. This is the manual lathe that I bought, and I purchased this at MSC Direct. You can buy a cheaper lathe. You can find them at like Harbor Freight for probably about 2/3 of what this one cost. I believe I got this one with the bench for like $1,300. The nice thing about this, it's a little beefier. This is 9x20, and it can do quite a few of the threads. You want to make sure that you get something that can do all the English and most of the metric threads on there. And it's about, I think, 3/4 of a horsepower. If you can look at the different specs on there. Littlemachineshop.com has a nice little lathe too. I might have bought that had I known about it at the time. But this has been a really good lathe, plenty of power, very accurate. And then I mounted some inexpensive slides, you could probably see that off there, it has a little digital readout, and then I got the quick change tool holders. Those are really nice to have the quick change tool holders on there. You can load up the tools with the indexable inserts on them, and it saves you a lot of time, and they're easy to get back up and running if you do happen to break like a cutoff bit or something like that. This is my saw I bought, and what I did was I bought a combination horizontal and vertical chop saw, and it can you can stand it up and do some bandsaw work in it. But by and large, what I do is I cut off my material with that. And speaking of material, you might be wondering where can you get material and stuff. Well, again, there's always eBay, and you can some of the hardware stores will have some of the rounds and flats you got. But probably a better bet is to check with your local machine shop, and especially if you're not competing with them, if you're just a hobbyist. They a lot of times have drops, and they may be receptive to selling you some of the drops just for what the scrap costs. I know that's what I did. I got a lot of aluminum and brass and steel, and by and large you're not going to need a 12-foot bar or something, so it doesn't matter that you got the drops. But that's the kind of saw I got. You really, if you don't have one, you'll know it in a hurry. This is the mill I got. It's really nice, good solid, very accurate, and this did come from littlemachineshop.com. They sent it out to me right away. It was not a problem. It's not too heavy, but you don't want to get one too light. I know I'm not knocking Harbor Freight, but it's a lighter machine and it'd be easier to pick up, but this one's more rigid, especially if you're gonna go heavy into a cut with this. It seems to handle it pretty well. I haven't really bogged it down, and I like the accuracy of it. This is the CNC router that I was talking about. I bought this on eBay. It actually even comes with a 4th axis, which is kind of nice. There's many things that you can do with this. It comes with the controller, and it comes with a seat of Mach 3 software, which that allows you to take and create some programs with it. It allows you to take a G-code program that you may have and send that to the CNC. Mach 3 software also has in it some functions just for some can cycles, like doing pocketing and bolt hole circles and things like that. So it's pretty handy. For the $1,300 I paid for it, you really can't go wrong. But it is, never lose sight of the fact that it's a router, and you can't take really big depths of cut. You got to kind of sneak up on it if you're doing aluminum. And wood and plastics and stuff is fine, but really break the amount of cuts down if you're going to be doing anything heavier than that. This is what I was talking about when I was saying you could buy some inexpensive set of end mills, and that's just what these are. Now, I do have some really good high quality carbide bits, and I have those for steels or stainless and stuff, but for aluminum, it's nice to have a wide variety of cutters, and these are just dirt cheap, and it's hard to wear them out cutting aluminum and plastic. So I think those would be a good choice just to have them in your shop. Here's an example of some of the higher quality cutters that I got. So if you're going to be doing some steel or a harder material, you're definitely going to want to have some of these in your arsenal. One of these will cost what that whole box of other cutters cost, but it's well worth it. And you see I keep them capped and keep them protected from banging around. They'll last you a really long time. These are the micrometers I bought, and they are very accurate for the money I paid for them. Again, this is from that company SARS.com, and it's just unbelievable what you can buy a whole set for. But even if that's out of your budget and you're not doing really tight tolerance work, you may consider just buying a digital caliper, and maybe buy like a 0 to 12 digital caliper, and again, if you're not holding tight tolerances, that's probably all you're going to need. Another thing you would really like to have in your shop would be a depth micrometer set. They're pretty valuable. Again, a lot of the stuff you can reach in there with your caliper, but if you want the precision, that blade will lay flat against there and keep it square so you get a lot more accurate reading. So again, it's all what you budget and what you hope to accomplish. Another thing no shop should be without is a machinist handbook. You will go to that many times. They are kind of expensive, but what I did was I went to like a half-price books and I bought an older edition. And unless you're on the cutting edge of technology, you're going to find that most of the stuff hasn't changed a lot. What you can get out of here is your speeds and your feeds, your depths of cut, the properties of the materials and things like that. That way you're not pulling numbers out of thin air. You're actually running a drill at what it should be run at based on the type of material and the workload you're going to give it. There's just a ton of information in here, from anything from gears. There's all your specs on what a thread should be, and it'll tell you what size hole you drill for a thread. And it goes on and on, but one thing you should have in your shop is a machinist handbook. Get the book. That's all I have for today. I hope that's been beneficial. And until next time, we'll see you. This is Tim for the Old Geezer Geek.